Hello, this is the first video of a series that will go on until whenever. Um, I'm calling it the 88 series or just 88 series. And there are many reasons for this title. A lot of the information, well, actually, I would say a majority of the information I'm sharing is from a class that I hosted, which I called the Grain of Salt Journey. And it was an unconventional approach and perspective on the Virgo-Pisces axis. I'll explain a little bit more because I wrote some slides, but I'm introducing this series to say, I know you are an autonomous being, but I'm reminding you that you can increase the playback speed. I don't think I talk too slowly, but I may speak in a way that is nonlinear. And so it's up to you how you want to receive this, if you do want to receive this. But primarily, what I'll be sharing are slides that have images, but I'm also just reading the text from the slides. So, I guess I could, like a part of me knows that I could go and edit and do all these things, but I just don't want to. I want it to just be as raw and real as it can be, considering I am using slides that I made starting in November last year. 2024. So, this is not for everyone, and I am not trying to be for everyone, but this is the beginning of a fun journey that really focuses on how everything is alive. So I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm not trying to lead you in any direction or impact you in such a way that I influence the path that you're on, in terms of you going away from the path you should be on. If anything, my intention is to display some of the ways that I research, but it's also how you just don't need to try to make things make sense so much. Acknowledging all as living and alive and conscious might not be easy or that clear, clear cut, but it's what I do. And so, for those who want to come along on this journey, I invite you to, I don't know, make comments in the comment section. I feel like this is where the internet, you could say, oh, I'm a millennial, but I feel like lots of millennials know how to use the internet. It's not like I don't, but I do feel like I'm an ancient being, but like the kind of ancient being that's like, what is this thing? It's like a flat screen. I can just send you my mind pics and you'll get them. So we're going to do the best we can here to involve each other. So if you have any questions you want to ask me, I might reference some things that have to do with my like life story, if you will. And if you wanted to know more about me in that story, I will share some stories throughout this series, but it's more to play along with the themes that I'm playing around with. But I do have another series called Story Time with Tree, if you wanted to sit through some of that. Okay, let me see. All right, let me share my screen. And I'm up in the corner. Okay, so 88 series, and I chose this um imagery because it kind of looks like threads. I mean, I know that it is, but I put it on top of a supposed picture of outer space, the Milky Way. 88 series, first video. This is the picture behind the 88. It is the Milky Way. The way we live in the Milky Way, and milk is such a topic of controversy. It is a joke from our higher selves. Just some different colors of the 88 playing around. Do, 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 do. Oh, and a green four-leaf clover. Some things that resonate with this frequency of 88. A butterfly. Thank you to my friend who suggested this one. Infinity symbol. And I put it at a 45-degree angle. Two infinity symbols, 88. Two infinity symbols sideways, 88. This is, what is that called? I forget. And it starts with an A, but it's the path of, we have the sun here, which also forms this sort of eight figure. This is the sun again. This is the moon with a similar figure eight, but I guess you could say depending on the angle. It's also why I put the infinity sign at a 45-degree angle. If you flipped this baby around, it would make an eight. 88. This is some imagery from Keylontic Science that also made me think of 88, as if we were at the top of what's up in the upper left corner. If we were like at the top of this looking down, maybe we would see like this to some degree, but in a more dimensional way, like not just these 2D images, but really thinking about the 3D and beyond of it all. So I'm not going to go over all of these. It's not my focus, but I did want to add these because, like I said, I called the class that I did the Grain of Salt Journey, and this is the 88 series. Baby, we're doing a lot of the same stuff, but some stuff a little different. So just your eyes viewing this can do a lot. I do like this one here. Oh, it looks really bad zoomed in. I think I screenshot that. So when we're talking about if we were to look down, down at Cathara grid, and then these aren't the right measurements, but I'm just trying to play with what you're seeing here as if there was like a triangular-ish kind of thing, but like an inverse. I don't know geometrical shapes well enough to tell you what I'm talking about, but just play with me here. That hexagon in the middle. It's funny because this crystal I have here, I felt called to, it's an octahedron. And it kind of reminds me of these energies. What other one? This one. This is it's a quartz, but why can't I think of the name? Starts celestial, but it looks kind of like a six, what is six-sided there? Okay, so you could look at this like this, like there are squares stacked on top of each other. And yet this still isn't the whole thing. I'm simply just playing around because I'm not here to teach you about mechanicals, dimensional mechanics. But I did play around with the eight here in terms of these different degree angles, although I put them at, I think, not 135. So again, there's terms here where you don't need to know, but if you know what I'm talking about, you might know why I'm showing these things. Because you could even look at this cross sideways as an X, and that all of that still sort of makes that 88 imagery. And 88 carries a lot of different things with it, different connotations, positive, neutral, pejorative. So this is like, the chakras, auric layers, or our Merkaba vehicle. And we have from the top what that might look like. So this is from the side on the left and from the top. But not really, because I think I'm wrong, even though I just said that's what we're looking at. Whatever. Then I added this weed leaf there because it looks a lot like that imagery, but 88. So some of the topics we're covering: stories, roles in stories, masculine and feminine roles, history, herstory, poetic meter, speech, sound, worth, ancestry, varying collective lenses of karma, the Virgo-Pisces axis and nervous systems, Virgo physiology, glyph, Kali sulph, which is the cell salt correlated with Virgo in that approach, quote unquote virgin energies, Pisces physiology, Pisces glyph, ferrum phosphate, Neptune, dragons, menstrual cycle. I mean, it's not really that specifically tied to just Pisces, but this is how I wrote it. Poseidon lore, his trident, the letter psi, PSI, sea, saltwater, time, finance, and business. Different perspective on roses, the word rose, rise, arose, etc. Varying gene keys and their connection to the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node axis shift, both sidereal and tropical, which we're currently shifting out of in sidereal and into in, or further into in tropical. Fairy tales, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz. Connection between all of the above and the government and secret space and mind control programs. Stranger Things, Twin Peaks, Once Upon a Time, Hollywood, cinema, history, and interworkings with government and other spheres. How all is alive and conscious. We are all connected, and this is not a pseudoscience, and more. I will be posting 60 to 90-minute videos where I am mostly reading from slides, and it's a pretty long series to deliver, and I will post until I am finished with the information I wish to relay. You are, of course, welcome to speed up the playback, like I said, and just pause and screenshot what you want to when I am showing certain imagery. I will be sharing the text I'm reading, but also a lot of imagery. I know I already said this. This is, of course, not for everyone, and part of the intention of this delivery is A, whatever I call neurodivergence and how I relay and process information, and B, almost like a veil to keep those out who the info is just not intended for. Not like it's a secret, but if people are deterred from listening to me, there's a reason why. You will feel and know if you are aligned. I mean, people probably would have already clicked off by now anyway. If you've ever trusted someone over yourself, then you know what it feels like if you, okay, let me start over. Intro 88 series. If you have ever trusted someone over yourself, then you know what it feels like. If you haven't, keep it up. This series is mostly a reshare from a class I hosted called Grain of Salt, an unconventional approach to the Virgo-Pisces axis. It is meant to be a share of what's going on for me over here and an encouragement to be open to this flow, but to ultimately decide for yourself overall. There are stories throughout history, but are they her story? There are truths that seem stranger than fiction, and although there is a sense of linear life lived, maybe there really is sort of room for it all. The fabric of reality, threads glistening with multidimensional geometries, sounds, and a wide, full spectrum of light, all essence is living and conscious, but we do not all see it this way, experience it this way. Whether it is Disney, Grimm's, family, ancestry, mythos, religion, etc., there are stories woven with all that is. The question of what is true or not can be of one of varying degrees. One could say everything has its place. Within these shares, I will show you how I weave together as I move along. I will show you how I can find everything in anything, anything in everything. Things may not make sense at times, but I invite you to flow along with me and feel into the web that I am weaving, or really that I'm acknowledging. This is not some monstrous spider web of fear, but it is the unknown. Once willing to feel into the living nature that is the web, you see it as nothing to fear. And as you get to know it more, it may surprise you how familiar it feels, while simultaneous, however evolving it is. Sit back and listen or watch me speak and share, and there will be a lot of direct text, again, that I'm reading from, with typos. Stories, history, herstory, poetic meter, and speech. If you have ever studied poetry or any of the classical or quote unquote extinct languages like ancient Greek or Latin, the two I've studied, you most likely learned about something called meter or poetic meter. Two common meters I studied in Latin and ancient Greek were called iambic pentameter and dactylic hexameter. These are examples of forms of meter or rhythmic schemes used to assist in the telling of sharing of stories and more. Stories in quotation marks because of the varying meanings of such a word, and again, his and her stories all have their place. It is said that every time we talk, we string together accented and unaccented syllables without even thinking about it, just like me in this video. I'm always like, don't do that thing where you do that voice that people do, but I know part of it is from the speech class I took that I had to in high school. And there's like a certain cadence we might all da 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 da. Well, it's this da-dum da-dum, but different. Okay. Some say iambic pentameter, for example, has been used because it is pleasing to the ear and closely resembles a heartbeat. Da-dum, 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 or da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. It is also said to resemble the rhythmic of everyday speech. When I studied ancient Greek, we were taught that dactylic hexameter, used for epic poetry often, and other meters were especially helpful in memorization of words and also helpful for sharing those words, as well as helpful in receiving those words. Dactylic hexameter is a poetic meter that combines dactyls and spondees for a total of 6 feet per line. Ancient Greek and Roman verse is quantitative, meaning the meter or rhythm is established via a long pattern of long and short syllables. Units called feet, nod to Pisces, serve as the building blocks of many meters. Each foot has its own syllabic makeup. A dactyl, for instance, consists of one long and two short syllables. Dactyl, long, short, short. I feel like I just said one long and two short, and then, oh, that is what it is. I don't know why, but saying one long and two short and then reading long, short, short, my brain switched it. But I hit my head earlier this year and I've been, whatever hitting my head did, it really amplified the, what we might call like dyslexia and dyscalculia, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Dactyl, long, short, short. Spondy, long, long. So you see all those dashes are the long. Hexameter, a line with 6 feet. Dactylos, a finger. Long, short, short. Long, short, short. Long, short knuckle, short knuckle. The name dactylic hexameter arose because knuckles divide fingers into one long segment and two shorter ones. Long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short. I don't need to read it all, but there's an X at the end, and the X at the end of the line indicates an anceps. This means that either a long syllable or a short syllable can go here. So it depends on what you might be communicating or relaying. So another view of that, instead of just saying long, short, short, is dum diddy dum diddy dum diddy dum diddy dum diddy dum dum. Dactyl, metrical foot. I don't know why my brain wanted to say mediatrical, like a theatrical foot. I don't know what that's about, but okay. Dactylus, dactylos, a unit of measure, a finger breadth. Also a fruit of the date tree, a date, literally finger, also toe. A word of unknown origin. The metrical use, a long syllable followed by two short ones, is by analogy with the three joints of a finger, which we already kind of went over. Spondy, metrical foot consisting of two long syllables. That's more like a toe, right? We don't have, there's just two knuckle or one knuckle, two segments there, right? Do I not understand my own anatomy? I guess we do have two knuckles. I am experiencing this all as if I'm learning it, reading from these slides. Okay. So from Old French spondy, Latin spondius, Greek spondios, the name of meter originally used in chants accompanying libations. From spondy, solemn libation, a drink offering related to spending, make a drink offering, spend, to make an offering, perform or write, hence, to engage oneself by a ritual act. Spondere, to engage oneself, promise. We don't need to read more. Okay. And the spondy has the perpetual authority of the correspondence with the deliberate pace of man and expression of his noblest animal character in erect and thoughtful motion. All the rhythmic art of poetry having thus primary regard to the great human noblesse of walking on feet, and by no means referring itself to any other manner of progress by help either of stilts or steam. This is from John Ruskin, Elements of English Prosody, for use in St. George's schools. Blah, blah, blah. They're like, we walk upright, we speaky. But I'm just saying this isn't about a hierarchy. Everything is connected here. And so, even the way people take certain words or phrases from biblical or other narratives about light and sound and words, I can respect it, but at the same time, I don't quite see things in a certain way. Everything is everything. But not all of us speak or speech the same way. And so it's worth it to actually see the shapes and all that is, but also that there is an interesting worth hierarchy involved with distinguishing ourselves from what we would consider animal. And we are man and animal, but we walk upright and we speak this language. And yet I've always thought animals probably talk, but they're like, we would have to get jobs if they knew, and they can walk upright too. I know they can, okay? And I know I'm considered crazy by people to suggest such a thing, but I do invite you to consider the timing of stories and fairy tales and certain collective and historical events and who or what might wish to make things seem a certain way and introduce such a hierarchy to separate us from certain beings and ways of living. Continuing along. As you can see with the finger nod, when I say stories contain all that is, our very own physiology is very much included. So the idea, let's say in ancient Greece, whether it be by news or a play or a story, there were people who would gather around the storyteller or person sharing with their metered and geometric speech, and then they'd maybe with the rhythm more easily remember and receive the story share. Then they could go back to their own towns or peoples and share their recollections. Within and beyond form, light, sound, and perceived logic lies this very existence we are experiencing, truths stranger than fiction. But look around, so many TV shows, movies, podcasts, songs, etc. are nowadays about so much that had been suppressed for so long. And yet the shadows, religious and other indoctrinations still stand so tall. Don't know what I was trying to say there because that doesn't make sense to me, but you get it, right? I do believe there is room for so much, but at some point you have to choose your own path. We all know certain stories, and then there are stories, I don't know why, but I want to say with this, well, I do know why, because in ancient Greek we had to learn the Iliad, and I was not the best ancient Greek student. I was like, this is stupid. Declensions, so many declensions to learn. I'm just going to memorize as much as I can, even if it doesn't make sense, because I'm just trying to get by in this class. Mind you, if you look at any of my story time with tree videos, I've been a weirdo freak since a long time ago. So I went through my schooling years purposefully not learning certain things because I did not want it to infiltrate my being in such a way to deter me from my own path. So I got made fun of a lot for being dumb in a certain way. And I had to be like, "Ah, they just don't understand and they may never, but it's okay." But I remember how surprised everyone was when I was able to recite the Iliad so easily. And I still to this day remember the beginning. What is it? Menen aede. No, I can't see. I feel like now that I'm gonna try to perform it, I can't. But you even heard the rhythm in that little bit. Palei yada okaleos ulamanein hemoria kai. So I'm saying not to impress you because it's not impressive, I don't think, but um to say that I was not even a great student, but memorizing it in that meter did allow it to stick into my memory in a certain way. It's this melodic rhythm, and it's like why I think we should live life like a musical, but then that means we really got to mean what we say. Some people even say they sing their affirmations because it lands a little differently, and you can think of religious spheres. And I know for me, I used to have to go to church when I was younger, and that was one of my favorite parts about being in the church was hearing the choir sing and how it reverberated and I could feel it in such a way. It didn't matter all the stories we were learning about necessarily. Okay. We all know certain stories. And then there are stories across cultures with different names, but the same sets of energies. Collectively and individually, patterns arise as the stories are made of all that is. So is everything. Stories of tales and adventures, stories full of lies that are circulated with lessons and symbolism, stories we tell our own selves, etc., etc. So why is it still considered to, why are we, why is someone still considered to be crazy? Okay, let me just read it however I wrote it. Don't look for great grammar here. English is the only language I speak, and I still do not understand it. But again, If you're more interested in why I'm a freak, watch the story time with tree stuff. I'm not even trying to plug it. I just don't want to spend time going into that stuff here. So, why is it still considered to be crazy that there are no coincidences in this life? Why are stories from only so long ago considered for children? Is it spell work, glamours, pineal cages? There are different reasons for this, aka, there is never just one reason for nearly anything here. And something I believe is that a certain energy here has been attacked and blamed for different reasons. And I believe this spans beyond the Rh negative label and blood type discussions, which feeds specific hierarchy egregores. So we'll expand on some of this as we go on. However, there is an echo of one story from my own lens that I do feel is related to whatever people refer to as Rh negative or a certain magic. And money, a magic that exists everywhere but had been dismissed and forgotten. One of these lenses of this echo centers around the stories of people's lives. My mom recalls the story of her father, some of which I did personally experience. The way I see it, he was deeply hurt long ago by his own father, and as an adult, he carried out what one would call addictive tendencies and habits to the point where apparently my grandfather spent a year in prison in the 90s, and I only recently learned about that. It's what inspired this journey was learning stories about my family and having a specific experience I will also talk about in a little bit. Two of those addictions involved alcohol, spondy, the libations, the drink offerings, and money, dactyl. His habits caused a lot of stresses for my mother and her family, and she recalls how Mr. Poisson would call asking for the money my grandfather owed him. So that was the name of the guy that my grandfather owed money. Mr. Poisson. Did we switch it up here? Yeah, stories, Virgo, Pisces, Poseidon. So we're still in this area, but we're going to be bouncing all around. We are all imprinted to a certain degree by those around us, our families, our environments, etc. You could say we are a product of our environments, but you could also say our environments are products of us. For my mother, this involved alcohol and money, worry, overconsumption, attachment. These energies were also passed down to me and my sisters, and although I've yet to fully understand my own issues with money, I no longer drink alcohol or have a bad habit with it, and neither does my mother. This reference, Poisson, it stuck out to me more and more as the years have gone on or gone by, and my mom has told and retold certain stories, including him. It stuck out to me especially this year when I learned about the prison stay. So this year being 2024. Poisson means fish in French and at times also refers to the zodiac sign Pisces, our mutable, feminine, divine fire-water sign who corresponds with Neptune in some lenses, Jupiter in others. As a planet, Neptune carries themes of dreams, illusions, deep and watery depths, imagination, deceit, divinity, concealment, delusion, perfection, illusion. What remains veiled? Psychic phenomena, confusion, creativity, the unseen, the unknown, the unnamed, merging boundaries, wholeness, drugs and that which numbs, a return to source, a deep sensitivity, etc. Neptune is considered to be the finest force in our universe, the highest form, and usually the farthest away from our conception, physically and metaphysically. Neptune is the water in or from the urn of Saturn. This also, you could say, is Aquarius, but Aquarius is the water bearer. The germs of life found in water, Neptune circulates fluids from our head to our feet, and this relates to ocean beds changing and new continents and visions preparing to arise, to arrive, as well as earthquakes. Naturally, some of those now standing structures and visions will be depressed and submerged, as all is connected and mirrored and reflected in ways beyond the imaginable and logical, or just the perceivably, let's make sense kind of logic. Neptune is the living water that nourishes us. It is nectar, it is ambrosia, you could say it is fascia. And a nod to the triple energizer in traditional Chinese medicine, a major component of the fascia. Similar to Neptune, fascia has been a seemingly elusive and mistranslated force of flow that holds not just our emotional memories, but so much more. Neb means cloud. Nebula means fog, mist, cloud, moist, wet. Nephail means cloud or watery vapor. Nephrology is the study of kidneys, the kidneys helping to maintain the water and salt levels in the body. Reaching high, low, far, and wide, Neptune invades the territory belonging to all the other gods. Water penetrates everywhere, and it is present in all parts of the human body. As a god, and some of the information I'm relaying is from the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation by doctors George Carey and Inez Perry. So I'll put that in the description box so that you guys know, because I don't always remember to put quotations around everything, but I did put them around the actual quotations. So I just want you to know these are my musings, and I'm not trying to have any of this be like copyrighted info that I'm stealing. And as a god, his Roman name, Poseidon, is Neptune. The Greek, okay, let me read that again. His Roman name is Neptune. His Greek name is Poseidon. He is the son of Saturn or Kronos, the brother of Jupiter or Zeus, the father of Orion. He is the divine monarch of the seas, both fresh and salt waters, and ocean beds. And although Neptune has said to have his palace in the depths of the sea, he chose to live at home on Olympus. He circulates the waters. Neptune with his trident, a symbol of power, a three-pronged spear, old word for spear being sprawn, which means crustacean, that which has hardened, does protect, as he rides his chariot. The chariot led by two seahorses representing Neptune's deep connection with our hippocampus and our deep memories, like fascia, and more on the fascia and the hippocampus later. In 13 sign true sidereal, both the North Node and Neptune are in Pisces, so it actually recently shifted to Aquarius in this lens. But this upcoming, and maybe you watch this after, but the September 2025 eclipse season is like this passing of baton energy where we do have one of the eclipses in that Virgo-Pisces axis still, but it is in sidereal or has in other sidereal lenses, but in the 13 sign true sidereal lens shifted to Aquarius North Node and Leo South Node. Soon Saturn will be there too, so it's already there. So like I said, when I wrote these, it was last year. Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces and in sidereal. And for me, sidereal, that's my North Node and my MC. Well, I guess when I wrote these, they were in tropical Saturn, Pisces, and now they're in Aries and tropical. Blah, blah, blah. Now I might be confusing people, but my sidereal North Node and MC are Pisces, and in tropical, my North Node is Pisces. And then that's a note. That's a note to the people I wrote the class. Okay, now let's play around a bit. And so far, I've mentioned stories, his and hers, ancestral, familial, traditional storytelling. And through the geometries of all that is, there exists a living holographic web of all who we are. In September 2023, I had a very specific experience while my friends were with my friends while we were at the beach. It involved Poseidon and his own pseudo-spiritual fuckboy energies, as well as the tyrannical father archetype who failed to scare or dominate me. There was an intense storm passing by at the time. The stormiest part of the year, in my opinion, is often in sidereal Leo, August 7th through September 14th, and Virgo, September 15th through November 3rd seasons. And I'm mentioning those sidereal lenses for a reason. Honestly, the layers were so magical. Like, we set it up without realizing. Look at this. We went to Broadkill Beach, and it said the point around which the universe revolves. I was going to say resolves. Um, Additionally, Broadkill Beach, I mean, even the name is funny, is known for being a horseshoe crab sanctuary. So here are some horseshoe crab facts. They are living fossils, considerably. The oldest known horseshoe crab species is Luna, Lunataspis aurora. It was discovered by scientists in 2008. and is estimated to be nearly 450 million years old. No, they're not actually crabs. Horseshoe crabs are much more closely related to arachnids like spiders and ticks than true crabs. Nod to the arachnid membrane, which we will talk about later. They've got legs near their mouth. Their eggs are a main food source for many coastal species. They can see ridiculously well. They have 9 eyes in total, along with various light receptors near their telson. And in the late 1950s, a physician at Johns Hopkins discovered that you can use amoebocytes found in horseshoe crab blood to test the safety of vaccines and other drugs. Very interesting. One last thing from oceanconservancy.org. Horseshoes are all about personal growth. Horseshoe crabs don't reach full maturity until approximately age 10, and while they do experience consistent growth over the first 10 years, their carapace, however you say that, carapace, their tough exoskeleton that makes them look like tanks, doesn't actually grow with them. Because of this, kiddo horseshoe crabs have to molt and do so up to an average of 16 times before reaching maturity. Once they're grown-ups, it's unusual for them to shed their exoskeleton. Before they reach maturity, I guess they're constantly shedding who they were before to grow into who they were meant to be. Cute. Okay, so I basically opened myself up to this Poseidon energy by announcing to my friends earlier in the night that I grew up with a mean dad. So I have a specific emotional reaction to certain situations. And I can be a little tough in ways that require softness, and I might not feel it as deeply or notice because I grew up with a mean dad. Later, I felt that this Poseidon energy, as I was just calling it, was approaching me at first to siphon my energy or scare me to keep up a story. He slapped me with a wave of energetic waters that one of my friends also felt. But because I laughed and was not scared, although I was a bit shocked, it shifted the energy of the entire environment in that experience. Hours later, I felt that this energy came to me for atonement. He was crying and saying how usually he was successful in scaring people, and that my reaction of dismissing his energy and laughing after my initial shock left him confused and bothered. For some reason, because of my openness, I suppose, he came to me asking for forgiveness, announcing that he must harmonize his relationships and his state of being. Take it with a grain of salt. Poseidon, Pisces, and Virgo are all deeply associated with the sea and with salt water. And let's talk a little bit about Virgo. I think this is where we're going to end things for this video, talking about Virgo. In the tropical salt of salvation approach, Virgo is paired with Kali sulph or potassium sulfate, considered the maker of all oil, Christ being oil. All things can be obtained from this salt and its vibration. Virgin means pure. Mary, Marie, Mare, Mar means sea. Virgin Mary, the pure sea or pure water. Jesus derived from the word for fish that fill the sea and water. Out of the pure water, out of the pure sea or water comes fish. Out of woman's body comes the word made flesh. All substance comes forth from air, which is a higher potency of water. Q, Aquarius, the water bearer, and the actual representation of salt, or the cell salt called sodium chloride, NatMur, Natrium muriaticum. All substance is fish, or the substance of Jesus. So a lot of these quotations are from the Salts of Salvation approach, as mentioned there. There is nothing from which flesh and blood can be made but the one universal air, energy, or spirit in which man has his being. Oil is made by the union of sulfate of potassium or potash with albuminoids and aerial elements. Probably why Virgos are so fine-tuned. They are well-oiled, discriminating, analytical, critical. In this approach, Virgo is connected to the solar plexus and the bowels, the solar plexus being the great great receiving station of energy from the back brain, nod to Taurus and the cerebellum, while the bowels complete the chemicalization of food products ready to be assimilated by the blood. The microscope reveals the fact that when the body is in health, little jets of steam are constantly escaping from the several million pores of skin. A deficiency in sulph molecules causes the oil in the tissue to thicken and clog these safety valves of the human engine, thus turning heat and secretions back upon the inner organs, lungs, pleura, membrane of nasal passages, etc. Medical science calls this a bad cold, often one that gets around at the end of summer. Timely, considering we are nearing the last month of summer in the northern hemisphere here. Good luck, don't get sick. Um, Maybe some colloidal silver, not for everybody, but I'm into it. Vitamin C, I'm into it. But also nod back to the triple burner and these steams, but also I'm sure I'll talk about it at some point soon, but Pisces and Virgo being opposite, we have this Virgo sulph deficiency energy and it causes some type of fever. And what does phos help with? The Pisces cell salt fevers. And it's actually the iron cell salt. So hopefully that's not too much I'm throwing at you, but just take it with a grain of salt. That's why I named the class Grain of Salt Journey. Funny how a cold can actually be hot. Now let's touch on Virgo being connected to the house of health. A virgin as a male or female who is unadulterated. Adulteration meaning some of the original elements are missing, i.e., to be pure is to be unadulterated, to be whole. The very fact that society connects adultery to sexual intercourse is a sign of the times of over or hyper sexualization. So the book The Zodiac and the Salt of Salvation was written about 100 years ago. The word adult is derived from the same root as adulteration and is one who has attained full size and strength, maturity. A grown person may indeed appear to be an adult, but when he is deficient in the original elements, he is merely adulterated. It is as if humanity has lost touch with attaining and preserving health and wholeness. Whole from etymologyonline.com. Hal, Hal, entire, whole, unhurt, uninjured, safe, healthy, sound, genuine, straightforward. I guess there's not only typos, but some of the images are covering the text because I changed the text throughout the slides. So typos because of the laptop I originally typed these up on was missing like almost a whole row of keys, but let's just bear with me and take it with a grain of salt. Okay, Hyla, Haila, undamaged. Old Saxon Hel, Hel. Old Norse Hel, Heill. Hal, Hill, Heel. So Kylo is the last one there, Kailo, Proto-Indo-European root, whole, uninjured, of good omen. So whole is connected to health, soundness, and safety. In this fractalized holographic reality of all being made up of all, there is perceived imbalance and we have tremendous influence on ourselves and our environments just as they do on us. I almost look at earthly Virgos as the minerals to the Piscean Pisces. Pi as a mathematical constant that is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. More on this soon. So if you look at the sea in comparison to the land, there is a lot of sea and a lot we don't see. Virgo can be critically conscious and unconsciously critical, very pointed and clear. Pisces can be more elusive and can be related to our subconscious. Speaking of a circle and pi, aside from the contention in approaches to astrology and the circle Virgo and Pisces relate to each other on, where they oppose, there is a circle of life. No, not that one. I'm talking about the solar plexus. When it comes to cell salts, the form which any salt crystallizes naturally depends on its rate of vibration, and this must continue in order that the shape may persist. Oof, layers. Each stone glows with its own individual light and color. Sulph, or potassium chloride, right? No, sulfate. Sorry, that's that would be Aries. Kali sulph moves in a circle like a spinning top of magic wheel. On top of a magic wheel. Kali sulph is potassium sulfate, though it says right there. It is also called sal duplicatum, salt. Its beautiful crystals have the habit of a double, oh, that's so funny. A double, well, this is four, but a double six-sided. So not the same, but almost like the crystals were speaking to me through that. Like this six-sided one, but like that. Its beautiful crystals have the habit of a double six-sided pyramid and belong to the rhombic system. This salt doubles that which it connects to. Sol duplicatum. This is the seed which falls to the ground and multiplies to 100-fold. The son of the Virgin is that seed, and the ground is the earth sign Virgo and the cosmic and microcosmic earth. So we're going to go on in this journey before coming back to the solar plexus, the Virgo glyph, and Mercury. Side note on potassium and sheep. The following notes are centered on Aries and Kali phos, as well as Virgo and Kali sulph. It is said that the bodies of sheep contain a huge quantity of the biochemical cell salt Kali sulph, which may be the reason why mutton fat is supposed to possess certain healing qualities. Sheep are said to excrete a very great quantity of potassium in perspiration, and 1/3 of the weight of raw merino consists of potassium compounds. The allocation of Kali phos to Aries is connected to sheep or the ram, as well as to Virgo, the virgin, creating the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sins of the world. Here in the Salts of Salvation book, sin means deficiency and dis-ease and is not tied to ecclesiastical religious indoctrinations. The lack of potassium or kalium, as it is chemically known, in all three combinations causes virulent and poisonous diseases, especially deficiency in Kali phos. Aries is a Kali phos salt, Gemini is Kali myrrh, and Virgo is Kali sulph. So is it not funny that people who've been calling people sheep and we've been talking about a virus for years now? Isn't that funny? And get this, as Kali sulph acts as a fuel, deficiency in it will cause a person to feel suffocated, and he suffers greatly under certain atmospheric conditions. That was a lot part of COVID and the pandemic, is people not being able to breathe. And as Pisces is the polar opposite of Virgo and allocates with ferrum or iron, the above symptom is usually aggravated when insufficient oxygen is obtained. So when we don't have enough iron, we also don't have enough oxygen per this lens. Combustion cannot take place in the absence of air. COVID, the pandemic, the plandemic, the higher purpose of all, wow, it just continues to fascinate me. Interesting how much the Virgo salt and the Pisces salt come in this lens, and you could say that they are considered the most spiritual signs to some degree in a certain way, and we'll continue to play around with this as I go on. Potassium sulfate was known as early as the 14th century, we find on consulting the Encyclopedia Britannica, and in the 17th century was named arcanum. The words arc and arch are both derived from this root. As the word arcanum is derived from the Latin noun arca, and this is all still from the Salts of Salvation book, a box or chest, arca meaning a box or chest, also from the verb arcere, to enclose. It signifies a secret or mystery. The mystery of the Great Arcanum, the chemical pathway by Paracelsus. It deals with the mysteries of demonstrative physics and the most secret Kabbalah, and is said to be in the Vatican Library. It is to be hoped that its treasures will soon be opened to those desirous or of obtaining information. More on the Vatican later. I remember being at the Vatican, didn't know nothing about it because, like I said, I have avoided learning certain things in this realm as to stick with my stuff. People can see that as crazy, and that's fine. I'm so stupid, right? I just remember being like, there's something weird there and there in this place. And the people I was with were like, you're crazy and stupid. But I know what I'm talking about. I don't know everything, but I know certain things. So Kali sulph is arcanum, an enclosed box, a secret, a mystery. An arc, a library. And this is where Aries meets Libra. Libraries, Libra, Aries. That's why Virgo is at this point before Aries to bring things into a certain form of this enclosed or secret mystery. Can't get to that other side without it, if you will, in this process. Webster's dictionary further elucidates that latter by adding that it also refers to a powerful natural agent, an elixir. The human body must possess sufficient sulph to enable the solar plexus to create its perfect double pyramids. Pyramids also exist on the top of our kidneys. Another note before we get a little deeper into Mercury and then dip back into Neptune again. Gemini and Virgo are both paired with Mercury, and they are both the only other Kali or potassium-based salts aside from Aries. And as Kali sulph is called sal duplicatum, the salt that doubles, I found it interesting, like, you know how the wheels move different ways, like counterclockwise and clockwise. It's almost with Geminis being the twins and siblings and Virgo being the virgin. Virgin Maya is the mother of Mercury, so in some senses, Virgo, the mother, births Gemini, the twins. A deficiency in sulph molecules causes the oil in the tissues to thicken and clog these safety valves of the human engine, thus turning heat and secretions back upon the inner organs, lungs, pleura, membrane of nasal passages, etc. In medical science, a bad cold is typically unknowingly what doctors describe as a Kali sulph deficiency. Kali sulph is not only connected to the solar plexus, oil, and bowels, but it is also found in considerable quantities in the scalp and hair. When this salt falls below the standard, dandruff or eruptions, secreting yellowish skin, thin, oily matter, or falling out of the hair is the result, etc., etc. About Aries and Kali phos. Sir Thomas Vaughan. Within this fantastic circle, the head, stands a lamp, and it typifies the light of nature. Optic thalamus. This is the secret candle of God, which he hath tinned in the elements. It burns and it is not seen, for it shines in a dark place. Funny that tin is mentioned. It's often paired with Virgo. Every natural body is a kind of black lantern. Makes me think of the spotter and lantern flies that everybody wants me to kill. Sorry, I save a couple a day. I'm not gonna do the killing. Not because it's moral, but kinda. Prove it. Some people think I'm bad and wrong and invasive. Okay, it carries this candle within it. Let me start from the beginning. Every natural body is a kind of black lantern. It carries this candle within it, but the light appears not. It is eclipsed with the grossness of matter. The effects of this light are apparent in all things, but the light itself is denied or else not followed. This light or fire is nowhere to be found in such abundance and purity as it is, as in that subject which the Arabians call hali kali, from hali, summum, and calip, bonum, but the Latin authors write it sal alkali. This substance is the Catholic or universal receptacle of spirits. It is blessed and impregnated with light from above, and was therefore styled by the magicians a sealed house full of light and divinity. The English name for the element potassium comes from the word potash, which refers to an early method of extracting various potassium salts, placing in a pot the ash of burnt wood or tree leaves, adding water, heating, and evaporating the solution. When Humphrey Davy first isolated the pure element using electrolysis in 1807, he named it potassium, which he derived from the word potash. The symbol K stems from Kali, itself from the root word alkali, which in turn comes from the Arabic al-Qala, plant or ashes. Forgive my enunciation. In 1797, the German chemist Martin Klaproth discovered potash in the minerals leucite and lepidolite and realized that potash was not a product of plant growth, but actually contained a new element which he proposed calling Kali. Kali. In 1807, Humphrey Davy produced this element via electrolysis. In 1809, Ludwig Wilhelm Gilbert proposed the name kalium for Davy's potassium. In 1814, the Swedish chemist Berzelius advocated the name kalium for potassium with the chemical symbol K. The word alkali is derived from Arabic alkali or alkali, meaning the calcined ashes, referring to the original source of alkaline substances or alkaline substances. Potassium in Arabic is al-ghali, from which alkali or alkali is derived. Al-kali, al meaning father, al or al in Hebrew meaning God or father, Kali in Sanskrit meaning fire, Kali in ancient Vedic form meaning mother, Al-Kali, father, mother, or positive, negative, combined, harmonized, aka a neutral substance. And this feels very Virgo coded. So that's all from the Salts of Salvation. This is not my own coming ups. It's just the way that I want to coming ups with. I don't know. I don't know how to speak. This is not my own coming ups with. I didn't come up with all of this, but I felt inspired to share it. So I just want to repeat that I did not write this. And if you want to go read The Salt of Salvation or listen to it, I love that book. Kali is fire in Latin, German, and Sanskrit. Kali is considered the most powerful deity in all of nature, the creator, the preserver, the destroyer. Fire creates, preserves, and can destroy. The idea that there is no life without potassium, at least the visible means whereby life is manifested, or the idea is that there is no life without potassium, at least the visible means whereby life is manifested in this 3D form that's just so fucking demonized. And since potassium feeds the gray matter of the brain, it at one and the same nourishes the spirit in that brain. It lights that lamp. In traditional Chinese medicine, the brain is considered to be a sea of marrow, and marrow is allocated in the Salts of Salvation approach with Virgo. So, potassium sulfate permeates all parts of the body in the form of an oil. The marrow of the bones is thickened oil or fat stored there to feed them. Each and every cell in the body is surrounded by and bathed in an oily, salty fluid for the same purpose. Potassium, in the form of potassium chloride, Gemini, Kali-Mur, spins threads of fibrin or flesh fibers. I'm gonna have to write this down because I found this note today. I wrote, physical body is 10. So 10 is demonized in a way here, but I have a feeling with my own methodologies that it doesn't need to go on and on forever, but that a lot of what is demonized here is simply the physical form. That is hell and heaven all in one. And we long to be in some state where we don't feel things so deeply. We want to go back to where we came from. Fiber is broken down, therefore, with the 10 base coding as phi or phi, and burrs like burrowing or like burr, because the cold is a big theme for this journey as well. So, Kali-Mur spins threads of fibrin or flesh fibers, and therefore all the tissue, ligaments, and structure of all the organs, glands, skin, etc. are made up of Kali-Mur or potassium chloride. Then wise Mother Nature adds to some of these fibers a large portion of potassium phosphate, Kali-Phos, Aries, to form electrical wires through which positive currents may pass and thus enable physiological processes to go on. The gray matter of the brain is controlled entirely by the inorganic cell salt potassium phosphate, aka Kali-Phos. This salt unites with albumin and with the addition of oxygen creates nerve fluid or the gray matter of the brain. And we'll talk more about the brain in other lenses and ways. There are other trace salts and organic matter in nerve fluid, but potassium phosphate is the chief factor as the electrical salt, and it has the power within itself to attract, by its own law of affinity, all things needed to manufacture the elixir of life. This elixir, substance of being creates the child in utero. Therefore, when nervous system symptoms arrive due to the fact that the nerve fluid has been exhausted from whatever cause, phos is the only true remedy because nothing else can supply the deficiency. This potassium salt largely predominates in the nerve fluid. A deficiency shows well-defined symptoms. So, the solar plexus, this is a place of darkness. This great nerve ganglia, if we're talking nerves, is indeed analogous to an arch, since it is a receiving and broadcasting station for energy, and paralysis results when it ceases to function. You know what it's like if you've ever been punched in the solar plexus. One time someone just pushed me down so hard that it knocked the wind out of me, but that's what that knocked the wind out of is. It's the solar plexus paralysis. Ever have the wind knocked out of you? Okay. Or been punched in the solar plexus and felt paralyzed? Sometimes I just need to keep reading. It is also said that the solar plexus receives every sensual thought and is relayed directly to the sexual organs. A little nod that over sexualization being a great way to distract people, to paralyze them. The solar plexus is often connected to Leo in a lot of lenses, and it's also connected to the third chakra, so therefore to Gemini in a certain web, because Gemini is the third zodiac sign. I like to talk about it in that lens as like the solar system and how we're in the third dimensional plane. And yet, here in the Salts of Salvation book, the solar plexus is connected to Virgo, this barren earth. Solar plexus, a great collection center of 12 nerve ganglia, like a clock or zodiac in and of itself. A 12-sign zodiac, duh. Sorrow has a contracting and crystallizing effect on the nerves, limiting the energy supply output of the solar plexus, causing functions of all organs to be thrown off. The solar plexus lies directly back of the stomach and consists of a group of those 12 nerve ganglia branching out in all directions like a sun. It is the largest of 3 sympathetic plexuses and receives the greater and lesser splanchnic nerves of both sides and some filaments from the right vagus. Anything affecting the sympathetic system, fight or flight, will react instantly on the solar plexus. The most important parts are the semilunar ganglia. Isn't that funny where you don't hear about that, but you hear about the solar plexus maybe, but not the semilunar ganglia? These are 2 large, irregularly shaped masses having the appearance of lymph glands, placed one on either side of the middle line and in front of the cura of the respiratory diaphragm, close to the suprarenal glands. The one on the right side is placed behind the inferior vena cava. Besides the 2 semilunar ganglia, there are the following: the phrenic, the hepatic, the lainal, the superior gastric, the suprarenal, the renal, the spermatic, the superior mesenteric, the abdominal aortic, and the inferior mesenteric. And this information is specifically from Gray's Anatomy. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. Further context from King James Bible Online 17:9. For he shall be like heath in the desert, like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when the good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness in a salt land and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. As the partridge sitteth on the eggs and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches and not by right shall leave him in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary. The idea with the Salts of Salvation book is that all spiritual and religious text is actually about our bodies, our physiology. It's about our bodies and its miniature bodies that make up the bigger body. Just as the collective human body is made up of our individual bodies, physical and energetic, and the idea also being that 12 salts makes up our beingness here, our physicality. So, when it comes to every sensual thought acting upon the solar plexus, this nerve, blood, and glandular circulation action are at once accelerated. This again reacts on the mind because of the sensations produced, this being like a loop of our own self sabotage. When it comes to these sensual thoughts, they are often attributed to the cerebellum, a part of Taurus anatomy, also correlated with the subconscious. The subbrain is the sense brain. Taurus is also very mental energy. More on Taurus, Jupiter, and some gene keys later. The cerebellum is also very connected to not just how we sense, but to how we see. Pisces, peripheral vision is 97%. Focused vision is 3%. And more on all of that soon, too. So it is, is it I love you with all of my heart or all of my bowels and solar plexus? And let's take a look at Virgo and bowels, the interior part of anything, bowels of the earth, the seat of feeling, etc., bowels of compassion, bowels of mercy, bowels of affection. Intestine, within, on the inside, internal, enclosed, confined, subjective, placing on or laying under. Tin in intestine. Revelation 12th chapter 6th verse. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Side note, look at this image of a different sort of depiction of constellations and their labels and meanings. Summer constellation with two turtle doves. So this is the left one. So two turtle doves, or on the right, a cube or rectangle or arc as Sagittarius. Flower of the field down here at the bottom as Scorpio. 12-star crown, aka Corona Borealis. You see it as the crown on both. The cross scepter, aka Ophiuchus and Serpens. So in between the flower and the crown. And Revelation 12 woman, Ursa Major. So coming, like, kind of flipping into the scene here. The Big Dipper, Ursa Major. And we have the Arcturus star. So it's just literally the big star that we see as a big star often anyway. All right, so we're actually going to end things here, but when we come back, so I'll probably have this slide actually as the beginning of the next one, but I'll read this here as well. Back to some Virgo energies and physiology before getting back to the Virgo-Pisces axis and Poseidon. The sun energy in the bowels of Earth reflects energy, broadcasts it also, to the degree to which it receives it. The human body possesses two lenses, one in the cerebrum, which focuses light vibrations impinging on the brain from above into the optic thalamic center. This is the upper, and the celiac ganglia of the solar plexus is the lower chamber or light. Upper, lower, positive, Aries masculine, negative, Virgo feminine, above, below, black hole sun, inner suns, etc. So we'll talk about the Virgo glyph next time. And like I said, I'll tag the book at the bottom. I hope you've enjoyed this so far. This is just the introductory where we just dive right into this whole journey, which was called the grain of salt journey because I have what I call a niche perspective. I'm not here to be right or tell you how life is, but I'm here to display an exercise of how all is connected in a way that we don't need to be making things so specific and logical, because we will be fed over and over again that which we put out there as we cast a web. And so why not be playful and take things with a grain of salt? So thank you for coming to this 88 series first video, and I will talk to you soon.